So you're here. How far have you come? You come as far as Naphtali? What about Coronation? Whatever it is, whatever place you come from, you've come a long distance. And you've come to a place far north and far south. And you've come to recognize what the Jews would call the festival of unleavened bread. They call it the Passover. The Passover is that time when people from all over the world, actually, the world at that time would come to Jerusalem for the annual festival of unleavened bread. That is to say, when an animal was shed and that the people were able to have the word of the Lord for them to go back another year. So as a result, I want to tell you a story. And this story is about who I am and what my relationship to a man that I'm going to tell you about. And this man was one that actually changed my whole life. Well, let me just give you just a little bit of who I am. Well, my name is Simon. And I'm from a little place called Well, a little place that's near the sea. Crazy. And I make my living by the sea. And first of all, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. Well, as I said, my name is Simon. I have a brother, his name is Andrew. And Andrew and I, we fish. We call it commercial fishermen. And I have a wife and a father. His name is John. And we live close by the sea because we are fishermen. Well, the thing that's unique about me, well, as a fisherman, one of the things that's real important about me as a fisherman is I give orders. And people, they follow what I have to say. So they have classified me as being a good leader. Some say, however, that I am brash. That is to say, you know, I speak oftentimes without thinking. And whenever that happens, either they listen to me or they don't. But nonetheless, I make a pretty good living. And we fish at certain times of the year. But most importantly, though, my brother Andrew, one particular time, he was following a man who, well, they called him John. And he was preaching near a place called, well, it's not too far from where we live, but nonetheless, from this little place where there was a prophet was being born. And his name was Jesus. And but for where we live, by the sea, well, Andrew was going to baptize John the Baptizer. And he was following him. So one day, he came while I was cleaning my nets. And he said, Simon. I said, what is it? There's someone that you got to meet. I said, well, okay, well, you know, Andrew and I were pretty close. But anyway, so he said, well, now you have to see this man. You know him by the way he looks, but also he has a strong voice. So anyway, I put down the nest and I began to follow him. We went to the little place, and true enough, I recognized this man, and he was dressed in camel's hair, and he was baptizing people, telling them to repent, turn back to God. And so, well, this is interesting. So, hear what they had to say. So, anyway, he said, I'm the one, as the voice crying in the wilderness, prepare you the way of the Lord. So, all that sounded pretty good, you know. And of course, we knew about the 5 books of the Mosaic of the Law, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And we knew all about that. And so I just listened to him. He said, repent. But he says, I'm the voice one crying in the wilderness, you know, prepare you the way of the Lord. And he said, I baptize you with water, but there's one who baptizes you with the fire. And I said, well, that's interesting. So anyway, as it happened, so after one of the times when we went to hear John preach, and so it was one particular time when Andrew, we want to know where this young man was. He was just an ordinary guy. He looked just like everyone else. And so anyway, so we followed him. We said, where you live? He said, come and see. And here's what this young man said. And he's just plain, this ordinary guy. I mean, he just looked ordinary, but there was something about him that, you know, you had to pay attention to him. So anyway, he said, your name is Simon, but from now on, you're going to be called Peter. So I started thinking about that now. I've been called Simon really all my life. But he said, from now on, you'll be called Peter. And that means the rock, a.k.a. the rock. Well, I had to find out what that meant. I didn't understand it then, so I said, well, now I said to myself, I'm going to see what this man has to say. If he called me a rock, and he is the long-awaited Messiah, Mashiach. And then as we went further into understanding what he was all about, then we went to, on the Sabbath, we called it the chapel, we just went into the worship area, and then that was a book given to him. And he opened it up, and he gave him the book from Isaiah 60, 61. The Spirit of the Lord was upon me, for he anointed me to preach the good tidings, to, heal the sick, and all like that. And so, and then he said something that made all the others, they got a little bit upset. He said, this day is this word fulfilled in your hearing. And the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, they got angry with this young man who had the audacity to say that what was spoken by the prophet was true. And so, and they had the audacity to quote, they wanted to throw Jesus off the brow of the hill. So he just walked right through them. And the brow of the hill was it was high, and below there were a lot of sharp rocks. And below, and those rocks, if you hit the bottom, you just die. Jesus walked right through them. So I said, well, now, what is it that this young man is going to show me by what he not only said, but what he does? So, anyways, I really liked what he was doing, but then again, he called me Peter, and I'm supposed to be a rock. That means that, I'm pretty solid. Though the situation just came as it normally does when we're just going through and following around. But anyway, one of the things that's very important about why I thought it necessary to follow him around. And we followed him around. So one of the things that we made a decision to do, and that was really to follow him. So I left my wife, Andrew, and I were left our family where we dwelt and began to follow him around. We followed him wherever he went. And wherever he went, he preached about the kingdom of God. When he talked about the kingdom of God, he was letting everybody know that there was a change that had to be made. And that change was based on who he was. So we kept following him around. He kept telling us stories. He told parables. And parables are what we call simple things, but it has a spiritual meaning. Well, one of the most important things that really changed how my whole perception of him came to be, and that was, it was one time we were on the road to Capernaum, and there was a centurion who had a servant who was dying. But he knew that Jesus was in town, and Jesus was always preaching about making a change in our lives. But what happened was, he said, well, just tell the master he ain't got to come, because he's just like me. He just give the word, and my servant will be healed, because I'm a centurion. I tell people what to do, and things happen. So he said, just tell the master he ain't got to come. Tell him to say the word, and my servant will be healed. And Jesus said, I have not found such sound faith even among the Jews. And of that same hour, just in a short while, they said that servant was healed. So I just simply said, whoa, this can't be for real. It really can't. So, I paid attention to what he was saying, and that was good. But then again, that was not hearsay, but this man's servant was healed. But nonetheless, I wasn't quite convinced until we just kept moving along. And then there was one particular time where, the occasion was, as I want to go back to, something that actually got started a little while back, and that was when one of Jesus' first miracles was he turned water into wine. And Jesus' mother was there. And so the wedding planner as such said that we ran out of wine. And so they asked Jesus' mother, Mary, what can he do? And here's what she said, whatever he tells you, you just do it. And what happened was, Jesus said 2 big pots, fill them up with water, just fill them up, top of them, fill them up. And then, let's see what happened after that. So they filled it up, and the water turned into wine. So the wedding guest said, how in the world could you do that? So Jesus turned the water into wine. That was one of his first miracles. See? Now, so that was interesting. That was very interesting then, but I didn't pay that much attention to it because, quote, I was still adjusting to my new name. So as it happened though, as we were, quote, moving across the Galilean and Judean hills, that we had, quote, Jesus been preaching by the wayside. He healed the sick, cast out demons, and one of the things that, quote, made a difference is how he spoke with authority. And a lot of people didn't quite catch it. But it's something about being close to him. But one thing that really hit me in terms of my chest beginning to swell up was one particular time when Jesus named his disciples. There were 12 disciples, and he called them by name. He's sitting, out in the hillside, and he named all 12 of them, gave them a name. Well, who was at the top of the list? I was. And John and James. The three of us were in his three closest comrades. And I said, oh my goodness, this is pretty neat. This is pretty neat. I'm on the inside, inner circle. So I held up my chest and I thought that I had really arrived, so to speak. But anyway, as we were moving about, and Jesus had been, quote, speaking to the crowds, and as they got on the seashore. But one of the things that also struck me was this. Now, Jesus wanted to borrow my boat. He said, Peter, I want to borrow your boat because I want to speak to the crowd that gathered in large numbers on the seashore, on the shore. And so he spoke, and then he got in the boat with me, and he said, now, Peter, Simon, cast your boat on the right side of the net. And so I had, quote, been working pretty hard at it and couldn't catch anything. So I said, Lord, we've been fishing all night and we ain't caught nothing. Is there any way you can, quote, give me some idea what you mean? Cast net on the right side of the boat? He said, nevertheless, because you said I'm just going to go and do it. Well, can I tell you what happened? I cast my net on the right side of the boat, but you know what happened? Let me tell you what happened. We caught so many fish, the net got so heavy, we put it inside the boat and the boat began to sink. So I called, Sons of Thunder. Hey, can y'all come over here for a minute? This fish, y'all can come to, this is a big deal. Just come on, just come over. And did you not know that boat began to sink too? And so I was just flabbergasted. So I said, Lord's in the boat. And here's what I said. I said, Lord, if you don't mind, just back away from me. I'm just no good. I mean, and he said, no. He said, I'm gonna tell you something. From now on, you won't be catching fish. You be catching men. And I, okay, well, that hit, but didn't hit hard enough then. So that was something. A miracle load of fish. Now, let me tell you what happened after, though. That incident when Jesus, we caught a load of fish. The sons of Zebedee, James and John. But anyway, what happened after that, though, we had to go to the other side, on the other side of Capernaum, and we had been walking around and people had been following us. But Jesus had compassion. He said, now, these people have been following us a long time, but they need to have something to eat. So he made a statement, y'all give them something to eat. So we start talking among ourselves. Lord, that's enough a month's wages to feed all these folks out here, over 5,000 people. That's not enough. So Jesus said, tell them to sit down in rows of 50s and 100. Just tell them to sit down. So I looked at some of the other guys and they said, he said, I'm just telling them to sit down. And so I forget who it was that said, so well now, guys, now look, there's a little boy here that's got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And so I just said, that ain't gonna be enough. 5 loaves and 2 fish, all these folks out here, that's not gonna work. So what happened was though, Jesus told them, tell them to sit down. And he said, take the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and let's just go from there. So here's what Jesus did. Jesus took the loaves and he held them up to the Lord and he blessed it. And then from his hands, he gave them to us, the disciples. And we fed all the folks all around. Each time we came back with a basket, it just kept getting filled up. just coming out of Jesus' hand. The bread just kept coming out of his hand. So we said to ourselves, something going on here. This got to be a miracle. It kept coming out of Jesus' hand. That was the fish. And so we did the fish. And when it came to the bread, rather, but when it came to the fish, I started perking up a little bit on that one, though. 2 fish, and Jesus lifted them up, and he blessed it out of Jesus' hand. The baskets were filled. Every time we came back, over 5,000 people, they filled. There were 12 baskets left over. So, and the people were just as happy as they could be because they were eating. That fish had to be cooked. That fish had to be cooked. And so, boy, that got me. I don't tell you, that really got me. So, anyway, let me hasten on, get to the better part. So, well, Jesus said, now, you guys going to the other side. I'm going to stay here with the people for a little while. I'm going to talk with them. There's some things that they may have some questions about who I am, and So what I want you to do is go get in the boat, going to the other side. Okay. So we're going to the other side. And so it was late in the evening. We were out in the boat. While we were out in the boat, well, the wind became boisterous, and so much so that we thought we were going to sink. And so it was late, kind of late in the evening, well, real late, about the 9th hour, something like that, very dark. And so we were out in the boat, it was reeling and rocking, and we looked up, and we saw this figure. And there was this figure was walking on the water. And while he was walking on the water, then we heard him say, "It's I, be not afraid." And it was Jesus. But he was walking on the water. Ain't nobody ever walked on the water. You ever seen nobody ever walked on the water? But he was walking on the water. And the wind was tumultuous. And so, well, I'm brash, I'm a risk taker. So here's what I said. I said, Lord, if it's you, can I come out there? Can I just come on out there? And so here's what I did. I got out of the boat. And I started walking towards Jesus. But I tell you something, I was walking on the water. And Jesus, I walked towards him. And he was just beckoning me to come on, just keep walking. So I just kept walking. But then again, as a fisherman, when things weren't going right, I just, forget what I'm saying or what I'm doing. So I started cursing. Or just use, expletives to, I took my eyes off Jesus, the only thing I'm saying. So I took my eyes off Jesus. When I took my eyes off Jesus, I began to sink. And so here's what I did. I said, Lord, please help me. And Jesus was smiling. He started smiling. And so as he started smiling at me, because I could see him, and he reached down and he picked me up. And we both walked toward the boat. We started walking toward the boat. Then hasten on them. So Jesus was always smiling because he knew something. He knew something that we didn't know. So anyway, so after we had, quote, arrived at Gadara. Gadara was just a little seashore, one place by the sea. And most unusual thing happened. That was a man who was possessed by demons. And so he recognized who Jesus was. So he began to scream and he began to holler. And he said, I know who you are. And Jesus said, what is your name? He said, Legion. Why? Because he had a lot of demons inside of him. So anyway, what happened was, so Jesus said, the word that got around this man was, he just cut himself. He go around the tomb naked, he had clothes on. And so it just happened so that Jesus healed him. And so he asked him what his name. He said Legion. And so those demonic spirits says that if you send us out, let us go to those pigs over there. Swine, pigs. All those demons said, let's go. Can we go into them? Can y'all tell something now? I'm Peter, okay? I can hold myself pretty much together. And that demonic spirit came out of that demoniac, and went to those pigs. And those pigs went over the cliff, and they were all killed. And the people around the town got so upset with Jesus, they want to run him out of town. But here's what Jesus told that demoniac. He said, now, go into town and tell everyone everything that God has done for you. And so that man went about, he did what Jesus said. But see, they wanted us to get out of town because when you disrupt livelihood of people who depend on those swine, those pigs, then you see you're in trouble. So let me hasten on. So Jesus healed that demoniac. So we were going, as Jesus had been telling us all along. He said, well, now we're going on the way to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man is going to be handed over to the Sanhedrin. And on the third day, I rise again after I'm crucified. Well, here's what happened now, okay? While we were on our way there, something happened. Okay, something happened. Because as news had gotten around that the Messiah had come, or that Jesus was doing a lot of miracles, and he was, quote, blessing the people. So as it happens, though, the beauty of it all, as a woman had an issue of blood, and she had been spending a lot of her money on things to help her to get well, but she never did get well. And so as a result, she just, quote, she didn't give up. She said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. So she came up behind Jesus and just touched him. But she got scared because, quote, she didn't want anybody to know she had done it. But Jesus says, somebody touched me. Now I'm Peter, so I'm going to say, Lord, look, there's a whole lot of folks out here. Now, who touched you? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't say that, though. That doesn't make any sense. Who touched you? He said, issue went out of me. So I said, okay, issue went out of me. As it so happens, though, the little lady came and she identified herself. And Jesus said something that really struck me. He said, according to your faith, according to your faith, because she had enough faith that she touched his hem of God, she could be healed of the issue, and she was healed instantaneously. So I said, that blew my mind. See, I didn't catch it yet, because I'm still learning, okay? I'm still learning. So anyway, so as we were going, Jairus had a 12-year-old daughter, and she was dying. And in fact, she died. And so what happened was this, Jesus was on his way. We were going to the temple. And so as so happened, we got to, people were wailing, and everybody was sad. And so Jairus knew that anybody who could do anything would be Jesus. So the people were wailing, and they were just all out of sorts. But what happened was this. Jesus went inside. People were boo-hooing and crying. So Jesus said, he didn't say what's the commotion, because he knew what was going on. He knew all things. So what happened was this. Jesus said, she's not dead, she's just sleeping. People just laughing. How's she gonna be sleeping and she's dead? That doesn't make any sense at all. How is it? I don't understand that. So I said, well, if Jesus said she's sleeping, there might be something behind it. So as it happens though, here's what the Lord said, now, rest y'all stay outside. Peter, James, John, y'all come with me. So I was I'm going with the Lord, I'm going to back him up. So we went inside. Jesus says, Talitha kum, little girl, I say, get up. Did you know that little girl got up? And she was dead. She was short enough there, but she got up. And he said, give her something to eat. So we gave her something to eat. And the little girl walked around the people, and they were awestruck. But it reminded me of one other time. That was a widow of Nain. And she had a son, and he was in the coffin. And you ain't supposed to touch a coffin. Now, Jesus touched the coffin. Told the little boy, get up. And that little boy was in that coffin. He got out of that coffin and started walking. That's in village of name. I just thought I'd mention that. So, Lord, what are you teaching me again? Oh, my goodness. So, let me hasten on so I can get to even the better part. So, what happened was that Jesus was who he said it was. Okay? Well, now this will really drive home a point of how I recognized who I was according to what God saw in me. We were going to the temple, and one of the things that was necessary that called a tax. Every male had to pay a tax. Put in the treasury. So what happened was this. Well, one of the keepers said, "Does your teacher, does he give tax?" And I said something like, "Yeah, he pays tax." And the Lord called me over. He said, Simon, who actually is able to like receive the taxes? The people, you know, or what? Okay, he said the people. So, in order we don't offend anybody, let's pay the tax. So here's what I want you to do: go down to the edge of the lake, go down to the edge of the sea. The first hook you throw in, a fish can have a coin in this one. And what I want you to do is take that coin and go pay our taxes. So I didn't doubt him, but I had some doubts about that too. You know how many fish in the sea? There's a lot of fish in the sea. So what happened was I said, well, the Lord told me to do it, I'm just going to go do it. So I went and did as the master said, and did you not know when I cast that line, a fish came on it? And I like fell out of my skin when that happened. So again, I keep asking myself, Lord, what is it that you're trying to show me? And as it happens though, as I move now towards that crucial time when the Lord was again going to prove that he was on a mission, okay, to do the will of the Father. So as it happens though, well, we're on our way, and while we were going towards the temple, and it was called Palm Sunday. And the people were crying, Hosanna, Hosanna, the son of David. People were throwing up palm branches on the ground. And what happened was this. Jesus went inside the temple. And Jesus came very upset with what the people were doing. They were selling sheep and doves. And Jesus made a whip. Get out of here! Wow! He ran them out. Get out of here! My Father's house shall be called a house of prayer. You made it to a den of thieves. And now I'm going to back Jesus up. But folks were getting kind of rowdy. We running folks out. So I'm going to back him up. I didn't get that far behind him, but I was going to back him up. And ran him out. And that incinerated the people. Obviously the Pharisees, they just said, well, now we're going to find some way to get rid of this guy. So as things began to take place, with what was going on now. Well, the situation became, well, kind of bad. Jesus began to tell his disciples one more time. He said, you know, while we're here, Son of Man is going to be delivered over to the Sanhedrin, and they're going to crucify him, but on the third day, the crucifying third day, he's going to come back from the dead. Now, so let me hasten on with this part of the story now. So Jesus was always smiling. He always knew that there's something that's going to come out of what he was about. Jesus was always smiling. And I had been, quote, following him around. And Jesus, he went for actually 3 years or so, things were coming to a head. So I thought I'd just bring this to a head. You know, this is part of it home. So as it stands, Jesus met, and this was what they call Monday, Thursday. Okay, and Friday would be the date that he would fulfill what God had him to do with his life. Okay, but Jesus was still smiling. He was always smiling. He was smiling because he knew that he would complete what God had planned for him to do with his life. So, there he was. And so he was, quote, telling his disciples, tell them one more time, this night, y'all gonna flee. This very night, y'all gonna flee, but I won't be left alone. Well, I'm never alone. So, anyway, we began to ask, when are you going to betray me? So we just went around and said, is it our Lord? Is it our Lord? Is it our Lord? And Jesus said, the one who dips his hand in the dish will be the one that betrayed him. And of course, no one knew who it was, but you knew it was Judas. So Judas betrayed Jesus because he had planned it all along, you know, with the Pharisees for 30 pieces of silver. So for 30 pieces of silver, he just, quote, you know, betrayed Jesus. So anyway, now Jesus knew he was going to betray him because Judas went out. He went out. As he went out, and when he went out, you know, things going on as usual. And so, well, as it stands, we were, quote, going to the Garden of Gethsemane. So we left the room, you know, upper room, we went out to the garden. And Jesus was so stressed out, he began to pray. He said, y'all just rest a while, I'm just going to go over here and pray a while. So when he went out to pray, he did it 3 times. Lord, if it's possible, can you just remove this cup from me? Just nevertheless as thy will. The will be done. So anyway, Jesus came back and said, Simon, can't y'all just watch for 1 hour? He said, whoa, get up. The hour's come. My accuser's here. And Judas had given the sign. Jesus was still smiling now, even though he, quote, had prayed. And we know that the angels came and administered him while he was in agony. Jesus was still smiling. So as it was, here comes a crowd, you know, from the Sanhedrin, okay? And they said, okay. And so they came and arrested Jesus. And they said, we're looking for Jesus. And he said, I'm he. And the soldiers fell back. They just fell back. And here's what I did, though. I got a sword, and whew, I cut off the high priest's ear, servant's ear, cut it off. You know what Jesus did? He healed the servant's ear, put it back. And then they tied up Jesus. But here's what they did. They put a noose around his neck, just like a lamb before his shears done. They put a little rope around his neck and they tied his hand. They were leading him around, just putting him around by his neck. So anyway, so they carried Jesus, okay, to Annas, who was his father-in-law, to Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. So anyway, so they took Jesus in, and they brought him for this little mock trial. And so they had some accusers, and those accusers were, quote, had been stacked up. Said, well, now, we heard this man saying that he is a king. We have no king but Caesar. And that didn't go too well. But one of them said, now, he and his people refused to pay taxes. So it's, you got anything to say about that, Jesus? He didn't say anything. So he didn't say a word. So they said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take him to Caiaphas, who was the high priest, and this, because we're not getting anywhere with this. So they began to hustle Jesus around, they push him around, and hit him in the side, and then just hit him, And so when he got inside to Caiaphas, so they, well, what do you got to say about yourself? And Jesus still didn't say anything at first. He said, now, I want to ask you this question, okay, and tell us, are you the Son of God? And Jesus said, I am. And when he said that, what did he say that for? Blasphemy! Nobody can give himself to God. And so, well, I tell you what, let's do. So Caiaphas said, now, well, since we can't, we're not allowed to crucify him, so we're going to send him over to the Roman officials. We're going to send him over to Pontius Pilate. So Pontius Pilate, that word had gotten around that, Jesus was, quote, who he said he was, and what they said he was. So Pilate, now his wife told him, said, don't have nothing to do with that man. Don't have nothing to do with him. That's what his wife told him. But here's what happened, though. Here's what happened. So, well, Pilate came out, and Jesus came out, and he just had on, his regular clothes, but it was a purple robe on him. Because purple means you're royal, see? So put a purple robe on him. Pontius Pilate, the Roman official, put a purple robe on him. Just I laugh at him. So now, so you're a king, are you? And so Pilate really wanted to get Jesus off the hook, but he knew that they got envy out of jealousy that they wanted Jesus crucified. So here's what happened though. So Pilate brought him out. He said, now look, now y'all got a policy. At this time of the year, you release someone else, and then quote, then this person can go free. No, we don't. No. It was Barabbas. Okay, he was an insurrection. He murdered somebody. No, give us Barabbas. And Jesus and Pilate said, now, why has he done? So they can explain again. What happened was that, it didn't work. So here's what Pilate said. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to scourge you. And I'm going to have him whipped. And then after that, I'm going to let him go. No. So here's what they did. On his way to the scourging post, they blindfolded Jesus and they began to hit him. They began to hit Jesus all over the place. They hit him up here. They hit him and put like knots on his head. And here they began to hit him. And there were, that swelling came. So they blindfolded him. And they began to hit him with their fists. They hit him with their fists. And blood began to come down after he was hit. And so, now this was after Pilate had said, I'm going to have him scourged. But the soldiers, they just take liberties because they knew that, quote, the crowd wanted him dead. So, they just began to take liberties so they can beat on him. So, Jesus' eye began to close up a little bit. That eye began to close up a little bit. And then here, the eye began to close up some. And then this part of the nose became detached because they were doing the job on Jesus, see. And well, after they got him to the whipping post, after they beat up on him a lot, and then, believe it or not, some of his teeth, they got knocked out. And this lip here, that began to swell. His lip began to swell. And, well, I tell you what, now, I wasn't there. Because I'm going to tell you where I was. I'm going to tell you about my part in a few minutes. But this was what Jesus was going through. While I, like all the rest of us, had fled, just like he said. But John actually let me in. You know, as I put John, the one that Jesus loved. So in other words, that little bit of tears coming out of that eye, a little bit of water coming out of that eye, and some of his teeth, like that. So anyways, what they did was, and there was a couple of knots right here like that, where you've been hit a lot, and these person's fists that's hit. So Jesus began to look a little bit abnormal because, quote, he'd been bumped around a lot. So, well, they took Jesus to the whipping post. And they had, well, when you imagine hit like that, there's blood is everywhere. Like blood is everywhere. All in his hair. And so they began, got out on his clothes. Now this is all before he got to the whipping post. But Jesus was a bloody mess. That's all because people just hit him with their fists. So what happened was this. There's always something about Jesus having something about who he is. There's always something that identifies who he is. Now, part of his beard wasn't quite as bad. I'm going to make sure that, everything was abnormal. So, here comes the part that I'm supposed to be to back him up. I'm supposed to be backing up Jesus. So, out in the court, I was standing by the fire because it's winter time. And so one of the women there said, "Now, aren't you one of those followers of this man, this accuser?" "Who, me?" No, I don't know the man. No, who y'all talking about? He said, you got the same dialect, you got to be acquainted with him. And I said, "No, I'm not." So I moved away from that first bunch. So in an hour or so I came back. "Aren't you one of those that follow this man?" "No." So I started cussing. I just let it all loose. "What? I don't know this man." But Jesus told me, he said, "Simon, before the cock crows 2 times, 3 times, you can deny me twice." And what happened was, Jesus was, quote, when he told me that, Jesus has been carried to his accuser. And that's a little bit of that would open up right there. Mark Phillips quote. He knocked a hole in it right there. Yeah. So anyway, Jesus was a mess. So what they did was this, guys. They took Jesus to a whipping post, and he was given 40 stripes, 39. And I want to tell you something. They took his clothes off, and they beat him so bad. A prophet 700 years before Jesus was ever born, that was Isaiah. He said Jesus was so disfigured, he didn't even look human. They beaten Jesus so bad with a cat o' nine tail. Okay? There were bones and cattle and rocks that they made that whip. And they opened Jesus' body up. That's why the prophet said, "By his stripes we're healed." So here I want you to see that after they, quote, had disfigured Jesus by beating him, by blindfolding and beating him up so bad. Jesus was a pure mess. And here's what they did. Now those cruel soldiers, here's what they did to Jesus. They was poking fun at him. And so they made a crown of thorns. Had a crown of thorns. And I'm going to show you how that, I want to make sure this is just filled with a lot of blood. And you can't tell where his face, one part of the face will start, the other one begin. It's all bloody. That ear wasn't that, it looked that normal. That ear was probably like cut off a little bit. That ear was detached. It was just one. So, well, they made a crown of thorns. And those thorns were 6 to 9 inches long. Crown of thorns. And they placed that crown of thorns on Jesus' head. Placed a crown of thorns on his head. And those needles were about 6 to 9 inches long. And I'm going to tell you what they did. Now this was, again now, I had denied Christ. I didn't know who he was. I just said, I don't know who you're talking about. And so here's what they did now. They put that crown of thorns on his head. And I want to tell you what they did. They got some reeds. They got reeds. And it took those, they call them bamboo reeds. And it took, boom, hit them on top of the head. Boom, 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 boom. And those needles pierced the skin. And you're talking about, can you imagine how that really looked? And those needles that hit the skin, they ridiculed Jesus. And blood was just everywhere. But I want to tell you something about Jesus now. I can imagine when Jesus was taking those stripes with that cat o' nine tail. Something that Jesus knew, that you can always tell that there's something that he knew. Even though his eyes were closed, just about. And that was almost like bloodshot. His eyes were just like bloodshot. But something that Jesus knew. I want to make sure this is done. I want to make sure this is highlighted here. Something that Jesus knew. Allow him to keep going. Now, I know he was probably, some tears, probably waters coming down. And mucus probably coming out of his nose. You know, all into his mouth, just like that mucus. And yet here, yeah, that mucus is coming out. Now I'm going to tell you what they did. Crucifixion. When anyone was brought towards trial, the punishment was by stoning. But God had made it clear through the prophets that he would be crucified. That meant he would be nailed and crucified. But one thing I found out, they humiliated Jesus while they was going through Golgotha, or just going through Dolorosa Street. Jesus was carrying their horizontal beam on his back, acacia wood, or gopher wood, acacia. And so he was carrying it, and he had been beaten up, lost a lot of blood. He was carrying that beam on his back. And so what happened was, here's what happened. As I get towards the best part, we're about ready to end it. Here's what happened. So, Jesus was carrying that cross up the hill. So they called a man, his name was Rufus. He happened to be an African. And they made him carry that beam to the top of the hill, Golgotha. And so they nailed Jesus to the cross. They put a sign over his head, so, you know, Hebrew and Greek. Okay. And so what happened was this. God cut the light out. Now, I had finally gotten away, and I was able to stand around. I could see, I'm Peter, I could see things. So what happened was, God cut the light out. It was dark. Jesus was crucified around about 9 o'clock in the morning. So God cut out the light from 12 o'clock to 3. It was dark across the land, purity dark. God cut out, and then the curtain in the temple was split in two. Split in two. Access to God was made. So here's what happened. So while Jesus was, quote, hanging, and he said these words, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That meant, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? So he said these words, but he was preaching something that was said in the book of Psalms. And then, here's what happened next though. Father, but no, here's what he did that kind of struck me, that Jesus knew what he was saying. And he said, talking to John, John, behold your mother. So how in the world could Jesus say that all beaten up? He knew what was going on. He said, John, behold your mother, woman, behold your son. Now he was talking to, them. And then Jesus said something. But before he did that, the soldiers, here's what they did now. To just make sure the other two thieves with them, they broke their legs with them. They broke their legs. But when they came to Jesus, here's what Jesus said, Father, into thy hand. But before he said that, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He said, forgive them, forgive us. We don't know what we do. Okay. And then he said, finish. And he gave up the ghost. And then after they broke the other prisoner's legs, when they came to Jesus, he was already dead. So they took a spear. Shoot! But can I tell you something else that happened though? Jesus said something like, I thirst. You know what they did? They didn't give him the water. They put vinegar on a spoon so he can drink it. That fulfilled prophecy too, see. And they gambled for Jesus' clothes, so you know what that meant? Now, he didn't have one in the clothes. Now, typically, you always have some sort of undergarment on, undergarment. But Jesus, as some historians said, Jesus didn't have one in the clothes because they humiliated him. They did. He didn't have one in the clothes. So anyway, after that happened, well, me, okay, my whole life changed after that. Because here's how my life changed. Here's how it changed. They carried Jesus down. Joseph of Arimathea was a rich man. And they carried and buried Jesus in that tomb. They carried him in the tomb. And here's what happened though, okay? Here's what happened. They put Jesus in the tomb and they wrapped him in a shroud. So after 3 days, it happened. And so the Pharisees said, now, this man said that he might be, are you okay? Well, something he said, well, when they said he's okay, here's what they meant by that, meaning that Jesus was in the tomb, and here's what happened though, okay? Jesus got up. He rose. He got out of the tomb. And so one of the ladies, Mary Magdalene, they came and going to put spices on Jesus. And so they came, the stones rolled back, because she said, how can we roll it back? God, an angel. And she saw an angel, she walked inside, said, you looking for Jesus? He ain't him. And she said, no, and she had a fit. Oh, he's right. And you know what she did? She went back and told the rest of us, who kind of like hiding out the way. And said, I've seen Jesus. And so we said, some say, well, now, this lady ain't telling the truth. We didn't believe. I don't know that I didn't believe either. So some days later, I was out there fishing with me and the boys, James and John, we were just fishing. And so we saw this figure on the beach. So, hey boys, you caught anything? No! Cast your eye, no, that into it. Cast your on the right side of the boat. And one of them said, that's Jesus, ain't it? We heard that before. So here's what happened. We cast on right 153, that's what some say. Some historians say 153 fish. And it was so big, we couldn't drag it in. And here's what I did. When they said it was the Lord, I didn't have one of their clothes. I jumped in the water. And you know what I did? I pulled that net, but I didn't know I was Superman. I pulled that net by myself. And it was Jesus. And his resurrected body, he wasn't all beat up, he just looked good. Whoa, that was Jesus, man. And then, but you know, I didn't have no clothes on, but anyway, he said, let's fix something to eat. So Jesus, some fish and bread, and they ate. And here's what the Lord said to me. He didn't accuse me of anything. He said, Peter, Simon, do you love me more than these? And I started getting a little bit upset. Lord, you know I love you, but I got worried about it a little bit. He said, feed my sheep. I ate a little bit and said, Peter, Simon, you love me more than these? Lord, you know I love you now, so I don't know why you keep asking me. I didn't say it that way. Feed my lamb. Then we ate some more fish and whatever it was. And he asked me one more time, do you love me more than these? And he said, Lord, you know everything. Now here's what Jesus told me. He told me the kind of death I would die. At the right time, right place. So I learned from the very first time I stepped out of, left my wife, my family at Coronation, and followed this man for 3.5 years. When I saw him, I didn't see him when he was all beaten up. When he was brought before what we call the Jewish trial and Roman trial. And he carried that cross. And he told me, if I loved him, feed my sheep. And so I rose to the occasion. So you'll find out about me later on.